This video tutorial is all about blood vessels. I'll begin by running over the open and closed circulatory systems before introducing the different types of blood vessels. Many animals, including insects, have an open circulatory system. This means that the blood is not always held within blood vessels. Instead, the blood fluid circulates through the blood cavity so that the tissues and cells are bathed directly in blood. In some animals, movements of the body help to circulate the blood. And without movement, the blood stops moving, so the transport of oxygen and nutrients stops. In other animals, such as insects, there is a muscular pumping organ, much like a heart. This is a long muscular tube that lies just under the dorsal surface of the body. Blood from the body enters the heart through pores called ostia. The heart then pumps the blood towards the head by peristalsis. At the forward end of the heart, nearest the head, the blood simply pours out into the body cavity. This circulation can continue when the insect is at rest, but body movements may still affect the circulation. Some larger and more active insects, such as locusts, have open-ended tubes attached to the heart. These direct the blood towards the active parts of the body, such as the legs and wing muscles. The issue with open circulatory systems, however, is that blood pressure is low and blood flow is slow. Circulation of blood may be affected by body movements or lack of body movements. In comparison, the closed circulatory system. In larger animals, the blood stays entirely inside vessels. This is a closed circulatory system. A separate fluid called body tissue or tissue fluid bathes the tissues and cells. This has certain advantages over the open system. For example, higher pressure, so that the blood flows more quickly, more rapid delivery of oxygen and nutrients, more rapid removal of carbon dioxide and other wastes, and transport is independent of body movement. We're now going to look at the blood vessels. Blood flows through a series of vessels. Each is adapted to its particular role in relation to its distance from the heart. All types of blood vessel have an inner layer of lining made of a single layer of cells called the endothelium. This is a thin layer that is particularly smooth in order to reduce friction with the flowing blood. We're now going to look at the arteries. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. The blood is at high pressure, so the artery wall must be thick in order to withstand the pressure. The lumen is relatively small in order to maintain high pressure, and the inner wall is folded to allow the lumen to expand as blood flow increases. The wall contains three key layers. The inner layer, which consists of a thin layer of elastic tissue, which allows the wall to stretch and then recoil to help maintain blood pressure. A middle layer, which consists of a thick layer of smooth muscle. And an outer layer, which is a relatively thick layer of collagen and elastic tissue. This provides strength to withstand the high pressure and recoil to maintain the pressure. From the arteries, we have the arterioles. Arterioles are small blood vessels that distribute the blood from an artery to the capillaries. Arterial walls contain a layer of smooth muscle. Contraction of this muscle will constrict the diameter of the arteriole. This increases resistance to flow and reduces the rate of flow of blood. Constriction of the arterial walls can be used to divert the flow of blood to regions of the body that are demanding more oxygen. Next, the capillaries. Capillaries have thin walls. They allow exchange of materials between the blood and the tissue fluid. The lumen is very narrow. Its diameter is about the same as that of a red blood cell, so about 7 micrometers. The red blood cells may be squeezed against the walls of the capillary as they pass along the capillary. This helps transfer of oxygen as it reduces the diffusion path to the tissues. It also increases resistance and reduces rate of flow. The walls consist of a single layer of flattened endothelial cells. This reduces the diffusion distance for the materials being exchanged. The walls are leaky. They allow blood plasma and dissolved substances to leave the blood. Next, the venules. From the capillaries, blood flows into the small vessels called venules. These collect the blood from the capillary bed and lead to the veins. The venule walls consist of thin layers of muscle and elastic tissue outside the epithelium and a thin outer layer of collagen. Finally, the veins. Veins carry blood back to the heart. The blood is at low pressure and the walls do not need to be thick. The lumen is relatively large in order to ease the flow of blood. The walls have a thinner layer of collagen, smooth muscle, and elastic tissue than in the artery walls. They do not need to stretch and recoil and are not actively constricted in order to reduce blood flow. The main feature of veins is that they contain valves to help the blood flow back to the heart and to prevent it flowing in the opposite direction. As the walls are thin, the veins can be flattened by the action of the surrounding skeletal muscle. Contraction of the surrounding skeletal muscle applies pressure to the blood, forcing the blood to move along in a direction determined by the valves.